Travel can be the adventure of a lifetime or the worst mistake you'll ever make. Today, we're diving into the most dangerous places Americans should absolutely avoid in 2025. These aren't just spots with sketchy Wi-Fi or questionable street food. We're talking full-blown war zones, surveillance states, and countries where your passport might as well be a bullseye. These are all countries that the US State Department has basically said, don't go here unless you have a death wish. So, before you book the next off-the-beaten-path getaway, you might want to watch this video, because some vacations don't come with a return flight. Got it? Get it? Good, let's take a look. Burkina Faso, number 15, Burkina Faso, where the sand isn't the only thing shifting. Once a quiet West African nation known for music festivals and friendly people, Burkina Faso is now the front line in a growing insurgency nightmare. As of 2025, it's a no-go zone for Americans, unless you have a passion for dodging IEDs and ducking from crossfire between jihadist factions and military hunters, or Junas if you're in Alabama. Entire provinces have fallen out of government control and extremist groups are actively hunting foreigners. Yes, hunting as you are the prize. Kidnapping for ransom is common and American passports are essentially a golden ticket, just not for Chocolate Factory. There's no reliable medical infrastructure, no functioning embassy, and very little hope of rescue if things don't break your way. So unless you're looking to reenact Black Hawk Down Burkina Faso edition, it's best to just stay out of the entire country. DRC. Number 14, the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The jungle does not want you here. Period. The Democratic Republic of the Congo, or DRC, is a massive, beautiful, and tragically unstable country. This is a country that has more rebel groups than only fan models driving $100,000 cars, and there's a lot of those girls. Many of them view Westerners as a lucrative side hustle. 2025 hasn't helped matters either. Conflict has flared up again in the eastern provinces with rebel factions controlling large swaths of territory, and of course that leads to terrorizing the civilians. Americans have been caught in ambushes, held for ransom, or just gone missing altogether. Even in cities, the military presence is heavy, corruption is rampant, and the idea of rule of law is more like a concept than a reality. The US Embassy, it exists, but don't expect Delta Force to show up if you go missing. You'll be lucky if someone answers the phone. Want to go trek for gorillas? Great. Just know another type of gorilla might be tracking you. Somalia. Number 13, Somalia. Pirates, warlords, and oops, you've been kidnapped. Somalia has been making headlines for all the wrong reasons since the early 9s. And spoiler alert, it's still a lawless danger zone. In 2025, the situation is as bad as ever. Al-Shabaab controls parts of the countryside, and if you don't know, they're like a terrorist militia organization type thing. Think ISIS Africa edition. Mogadishu is a fortress surrounded by chaos, and piracies made an unironic comeback. You're not vacationing here. You're applying to be the main character in a hostage video. Foreigners, especially Americans, are prime targets for kidnapping, extortion, and propaganda. There's no functioning government to protect you, no infrastructure to support you, and no way to blend in. Aid groups operate under armed guards, and journalists barely last long enough to file a story. If you think you're brave enough to visit Somalia, ask yourself, is it the kind of adventure I want to explain to the State Department or have it written about in my obituary? Ukraine. Number 12, Ukraine war zone with a postcard filter. Number 12, Ukraine war zone with a postcard filter. In another life, the Ukraine would be topping Instagram feeds with its golden dome cathedrals, charming cobblestone streets, and sunflower-covered country ides. But in 2025, it's more like, come for the culture, stay for the missile strikes. Since Russia's full-scale invasion began in 2022, Ukraine has become one of the most volatile and unpredictable places on Earth. While some regions have stabilized, the eastern and southern parts remain active war zones with cities regularly targeted by drone strikes, artillery shellings, and missile barges. Humanitarian corridors open and close faster than a cheap suitcase, and infrastructure is often hanging on by a thread. If you're an American, there's the added bonus of being mistaken for a spy, foreign fighter, or a Western agitator. And good luck calling the embassy. Many consular services have been relocated or suspended entirely. Bottom line, Ukraine is not a place for backpacking, soul-searching, or sightseeing in 2025. This isn't a gap year, it's a potential obituary headline. Number 11, Belarus. Europeans' grumpiest hermit. With KGB nostalgia, Belarus might be draped in snow and bordered by storybook nations like Poland and Lithuania, but don't be fooled by the frosty charm. Number 11, Belarus. Europeans' grumpiest hermit. With KGB nostalgia, Belarus might be draped in snow and bordered by storybook nations like Poland and Lithuania, But don't be fooled by the frosty charm. This place is locked in a Soviet-era time warp under Alexander Lukashenko, who is also known as Europe's last dictator. Belarus has devolved into a paranoid surveillance state where oppositions get jailed, and smiling at the wrong statue could mean you're an enemy of the state, and you're swooped up. The US State Department has told Americans to leave in this statement. Due to the Belarusian authorities' arbitrary enforcement of local laws and the risk of detention, continued facilitation of the Russian war against Ukraine, and the heightened volatility, along with unpredictable nature of the regional security environment, do not travel to Belarus. For Americans, the danger isn't just theoretical. US travelers have been detained at the border, interrogated without legal recourse, and even accused of being spies for things as innocent as owning a drone or snapping a photo in the wrong place. There's no US embassy here to help you out either, so if you vanish into a Belarusian holding cell, your best hope is international outcry, and even with that, there's a waiting list. I don't think many Americans realize how bad it is in Belarus with this dictator. He's been in power for 30 years and he does have the old Soviet-era KGB thing going on there. Afghanistan. Number 10, Afghanistan, where the only tour is the Escape Room Kabul edition. Afghanistan is no longer war zone, it's a post-apocalyptic board game where every square spells disaster. Since the Taliban seized power again, the already non-existent rule of law has somehow gotten worse. Americans are now viewed as political trophies. Aid workers, journalists, and contractors have been kidnapped, executed, or disappear altogether. George Gelsman, an airline mechanic from Atlanta, is the third American to be detained and released by the Taliban since January. He was taken by the Taliban's intelligence services in December of 2022 and was later designated as wrongfully detained by the US government. He was just released a couple weeks ago. And it's not just the Taliban you need to worry about. Rival factions, opportunistic criminals, and even civilians with a grudge might see your American passport as the golden ticket to ransom riches. There's no working airport here, no diplomatic mission, and no Liam Neeson to save the day. Your best bet, don't even think about going. Cuba. Number 9, Cuba, the Forbidden Mojito. After a brief honeymoon phase in the 2010s, US-Cuba relations have crashed harder than a Havana taxi. In 2025, all direct tourism is effectively cancelled. If you're an American thinking about sneaking via third country, good luck. The US authorities are cracking down hard, and you could come home to fines, legal trouble, or your name on a government list. That sounds like something out of Orwell. On the Cuba side, things aren't exactly welcoming either. You could be denied entry, followed during your visit, or harassed by local authorities. That beach vacation, more like a geopolitical headache. Yeah, for a while there, they were kinda letting Americans go back to Cuba, then things got wonky again and they told everyone to stay out. Beautiful country, it's just got some parts and they are really poor. Yemen. Number 8, yeah, the world's worst group project. Yemen is where empires once flourished, but now it's where humanitarian efforts go to die. Americans entering Yemen are viewed with immediate distrust and assumed to be intelligence agents or potential hostages. Civil war, Al-Qaeda shufs, and Houthi rebels make up a deadly trifecta. Even veteran war correspondents are steering clear, and that says a lot. Financial Times listed Yemen as one of the top 7 countries Americans are most likely to be kidnapped. Back in 2022, 2 teenage girls from the US went to visit family in Yemen. Now they're Americans. They just have family living there. They were kidnapped. It took quite a lot of string pulling and negotiations with the help of Saudi Arabia to get these 2 girls back. They were on the verge of being trafficked. As an American, you're basically a walking liability. You'll have no backup, no safe zones, and no emergency exit plan. Medical care is non-existent. Checkpoints are manned by teenagers with AK-47s, and kidnappings are a common occurrence. Unless you want to end up in a ransom video or be held indefinitely without charges, skip the ancient ruins and opt for a coffee table book about Yemen. Haiti. Number 7, Haiti. Gangs, guns, and no government. We don't need no stinking government. Haiti has gone from tragedy to full-blown chaos. In 2025, the government is effectively defunct and gangs control the capital city like warlords in a dystopian novel. The US has evacuated most diplomatic personnel and strongly advises Americans to stay out unless you're ready to play Who Wants to Be Kidnapped. Americans are valued targets here. There is no real police force, no safety net, and no way to guarantee even basic security. Hospitals are overwhelmed, roads are blocked and armed by groups, and your beach vacation could turn into a hostage standoff. Not even cruise ships are stopping by there anymore. The US State Department gives Haiti its strongest recommendation not to travel there. Iran. Number 6. Iran. The oops, you're a spy zone. Number 6. Iran. The oops, you're a spy zone. Iran's tourist industry was once thriving with historic cities and drawing travelers from all over the world. Today it's more like a spy thriller gone wrong. Americans are routinely accused of espionage, sometimes for possessing binoculars or speaking with locals without a chaperone. Detained travelers can be held for months or even years without a trial. An Iranian court has sentenced a dual U.S.-Iranian citizen and former journalist to 10 years in prison on charges of collaborating with a hostile government. If you go there, government minders tail foreign visitors like a budget version of the CIA, and there's no such thing as privacy. Say something wrong or look at a nuclear facility on Google Maps and you're in for a long, uncomfortable stay in prison in Iran. The US has no formal diplomatic presence in Iran, meaning you're truly on your own. Number 5, Laos. You ever heard of it? Number 5, Laos. You ever heard of it? A lot of people haven't, unless they know anything about the Vietnam War. But Laos is a landlocked country in between Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, and has a little stretch of land with China. And recently, Laos didn't make headlines when it quietly iced out American tourists. But make no mistake, it's a calculated snub. After ramping up ties with China, Laos has started seeing US travelers less as adventurous backpackers and more like potential Western agitators. Americans have been turned away from border crossing, denied travel permits, and had their electronics searched for sensitive content. And while it may not be overtly dangerous, Laos has become increasingly authoritarian. Surveillance is ramped up, and arrests for anti-state activity are on the rise. Earlier this year in Milwaukee, a Hmong woman who was brought to the United States as a baby from Thailand was deported to Laos. She went to her check-in for her immigration check-in appointment, and they picked her up there and they sent her to Laos. She's never been there. She said she is now stranded in a rooming house in the capital of Laos, surrounded by military guards with little idea of what's going on next, since our diplomatic channels are kind of strained right now, and they're really not communicating to the US about what's happening. Myanmar. Number 4, Myanmar. Welcome to the jungle, where the military has guns. Myanmar has descended into a violent turmoil since the 2021 coup. Now foreign journalists and aid workers are being detained or deported, and civilians are caught in the never-ending cycle of repression. The military doesn't differentiate between tourists and spies, especially if you're carrying one of those things, those cameras. God help you if you take a drone or a notebook to Myanmar. For Americans, it's a gamble with no winning side. Some towns are under martial law, others are run by rebels. Infrastructure has collapsed, and even diplomatic flights are prone to cancellation, checkpoints, and surprise interrogations. If you're arrested, you may not even be charged, just held indefinitely under national security laws. Tourism is dead here. The visitors are collateral damage. Funny thing about coups, they stop having elections right after the coup has happened. They always promise there'll be new democratic elections like within 3 months or next year. Never North Korea happens. Number 3, North Korea. The human rights black hole. North Korea continues to exist in its own bizarre orbit of totalitarian control. And in 2025, it's no different. Except the hostilities towards Americans have intensified. If you somehow make it into the country, you'll be watched 24/7. And even a misplaced hotel pin could be considered theft. Americans have previously been in prison for tearing down propaganda posters, leaving Bibles in hotel rooms, or simply asking too many questions. You'll have no communication with the outside world and no recourse if things go sideways. North Korea doesn't recognize dual citizenship, diplomatic protection, or basic human rights. Consider this your official. Don't even think about it. Everyone remembers the Otto Warbier incident. Warbier entered North Korea as part of a guided tour group in December of 2015. On January 2, 2016, he was arrested at Poyang International Airport while waiting for a departure from the country. He was convicted for attempting to steal a propaganda poster from a hotel, for which he was sentenced to 15 years hard labor. Shortly after his sentencing in March 2016, Warbier suffered a severe neurological injury from unknown causes and fell into a coma which lasted until his death. This reminds me of that kid that went to North Sentinel Island, which is off limits to everyone, but he wanted to convert the locals. He had convinced some fishermen to take him to the island. I guess the fishermen were leaving and they saw the natives come out and kill him, then drag him down the beach. Number 2, South Sudan, where the travel brochure is just a scream. South Sudan is practically lawless, sort of like Haiti. The nation's fragile peace agreement is hanging by a thread, and rival militias continue to wreak havoc. Americans are seen as both suspicious outsiders and lucrative kidnap targets. Tribal conflicts, rebel ambushes, and government corruption are everyday hazards. If you get sick, there is no functioning hospitals here. If you get robbed, the police won't come. If you get kidnapped, well, that's your problem figured out. The US can't help you here. The embassy is largely abandoned, and commercial flights are unreliable at best. The only thing you'll collect is trauma, if you go here. Alright, before we get to number 1, if you have not subscribed to this channel, we would really appreciate it if you did. And maybe go over to our other channel on this day and subscribe there. All the profits from that channel go to classrooms across the country. There's a link down below. Alright, on to number 1, Syria, and number 1, Syria. The world's most explosive no-fly zone. Syria, and number 1, Syria, the world's most explosive no-fly zone. Syria tops the list for a reason. Bombed out cities, active war zone, terrorist factions, and a regime that sees foreigners as threats. It's a horror movie with no end credits. ISIS might not control the same territory it once did, but sleeper cells remain, and pro-Assad forces are just as dangerous to outsiders. Now, Assad has left the country. On December 8th, when rebels started closing in on Damascus, him and his family decided to leave the country and go to Russia, where Vladimir Putin gave them asylum. Now, Syrian officials requested his extradition, but Russia said no. So all that's changing. Probably by the time you watch this 2 weeks from now, it's going to change even more. I mean, Russia just refused his extradition on April 7th, so while you're watching this, there might not be any more pro-Assad factions in the country. Someone else will take their place though. So, in conclusion, if your 2025 bucket list includes any of these destinations, you might want to swap it out for something with fewer warlords, less tear gas, and zero chance of indefinite detention. Adventure is great until it turns into headlines about American tourists being held hostage for questioning cultural norms. Alright everyone, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. Everyone have a great day. Be nice to each other.